Sounds like you're against this completely, but there's also so many people watching your stream that are very happy about the invasion, so you don't want to divide. But if you're saying we're gonna pay this,
I don't like it. I told you. I just told you last year.
So you're against what happened.
Yeah, I think long term this is going to hurt us. Short term, it's going to benefit us, but I think long term this will absolutely hurt us in the international community. Yeah, the good was they did a military operation. Obviously, they were able to show the force of the U.S. government, etc. Oh, another thing also that was weird about this, dude, using those kind of resources to pick up someone for a drug trafficking warrant is fucking nuts. I've worked with the DEA, bro. They can't even get like $1,000 to $2,000 to fly to California to pick up a drug trafficker, but these dudes spent like $1 billion.
Yeah, how much did that operation
to go
cost?
Pick this. Yeah, dude, hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion or more, easily.
Oh, wow.
Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit and a former special agent for Homeland Security investigations informs on Sneako's stream about US foreign policy. He argues that capturing Venezuela's dictator is not a victory, but a massive strategic blunder that will hurt US interests in the long run. He talks about the potential blowback, regional instability, and unforeseen challenges arising from this foreign policy decision. He makes very strong points about why it could evolve into a problem.
But they're not really going into like the economic reasons why we're doing what we're doing. And the real reason that we went in there and did what we did, now people say, oh, it's for oil, but it goes deeper than just for oil. It's also because the petrodollar is pretty much like dead, okay? So it's like, it's on life support, right? Last year, and I was like one of the only people that reported on this, Saudi Arabia chose to not renew the deal that they had done with us back from the 70s where we would use the petrodollar to back our dollar, right, essentially. So we got off the gold standard and we used the petrodollar as one of the main reasons to back our dollar, which makes us the reserve currency because everyone has to do their deals in oil when they deal with the Saudi royal family in dollars. Well, now they're accepting other forms of currency to include BRICS countries. So they haven't renewed that agreement that we struck with them in the 1970s, right? Well, that's a big problem for us because our dollar is pretty much backed by that. It's the main reason why we're able to print all this currency with no consequence, right? Yeah, we get some inflation, but we're the reserve currency, so it gives us a lot of leverage, and this is why America's been able to be so prosperous for so long. So the petrodollar is on life support. Then also another important thing to understand is that
we're on a petrodollar standard.
Yes, it's a big reason why our dollar is so strong is because of the petrodollar. Yeah.
So the Fed relies upon oil.
That's a component to it, yes. And what I'm saying is Saudi Arabia last year, decided to not honor that deal anymore, right? Where now they're not doing all their transactions in dollars like they used to do. That obviously is going to weaken our dollar to a degree. Now, the other problem here, and this happened last year, no one reported on it, right? The other problem is that we have petroleum reserves. Of these petroleum reserves, we've been using it the past couple of years under the Biden administration into the Trump administration, and we're running low with these petroleum reserves. These petroleum reserves are supposed to only be used in times of war or emergencies, but we know how politicians are. They want votes, they don't want to have low approval ratings, etc. So they started to slowly release these barrels of oil into the market to keep gas prices stable. Remember when everyone was complaining about milk and eggs and everything else like that being too expensive? They were releasing this oil from our reserves the whole time. So we got two things against us that are going bad. We got the petrodollar weak, and we're using our reserves. The third thing, which was the red line, which is why we actually invaded, which I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, is Venezuela was gearing up to start accepting BRICS currency, led by the yuan with the Chinese, right?
Which is what they were doing that day, the same day Maduro was meeting with the Chinese in order to deal oil and yuan.
It could have been anything, but we do know that the Chinese absolutely, and Venezuela is going to basically become a BRICS country. And the problem with that is that it's on our hemisphere, and by being a BRICS country, that would challenge our hegemon as the reserve currency, and it would hurt our position with our dollar. Anytime a dictator or anybody threatens our dollar, just like they did with Gaddafi, they kill him. So what happened with Maduro was reserves are low, petrodollar on life support. He wants to go ahead and start accepting BRICS currency instead of US dollars for the oil. So the US is like, okay, Venezuela has the highest reserves. Oh, and another thing also. Now, some people in the chat are going to say, oh, Myron, well, we have our own oil in America. Why do we need to invade? What are you talking about? Well, here's the difference. The shale oil that we have here is not the nice, black, thick oil, pause.
It's crude.
That Venezuela and Saudi Arabia have. And the thing is that our entire oil infrastructure, our refineries in America, are based on that type of oil that we get from the Saudis and the oil that Venezuela has. So the oil that we have is expensive to deal with and refine. And our infrastructure basically needs that type of oil in Venezuela and Saudi to work. Now, you know, what we could do, I was going to say something about that. But yeah, so all these factors led into why they invaded. Now, when Trump came into office, right, one of the first things he did was he labeled Tren de Araguas as a terrorist organization. He did that on purpose. The reason why he did that was because if you label a drug trafficking organization as an FTO or a foreign terrorist organization, you now can use military assets and the intelligence community, right, to go after that organization. So what he basically did was he said, okay, this guy Maduro and his entire gang, they're Al-Qaeda now. They went from criminals to enemy combatants. That's why we have the justification to these kinetic strikes on boats, right? And they were striking these boats. They were moving aircraft carriers. They were mobilizing all these military assets, etc. They needed an excuse to go in there to take him. So what did they do? Well, we have an arrest warrant for him. We could go pick him up. Well, here's the part about that why I know that that's bullshit. They indicted him 6 years ago, okay? They indicted him 6 years ago. They didn't do anything. And not only did they indict him 6 years ago, and they indicted him under Trump 1. Trump was in office when he got indicted the first time in early 2020. So what changed this time? Well, what changed this time is that the Saudis dropped the petrodollar, like I told you last year. And last year when Saudi Arabia dropped the petrodollar as exclusive, I knew that at some point we were going to do some crazy shit to secure more oil, especially since we've been using reserves. It took 2 years to happen, but my prophecy came fulfilled.
So why are you not why are you not against what happened in Venezuela?
I'm explaining.
It sounds like
very
you are.
Important. No, I'm explaining to you why they did it.
But
I'm telling you why they did it.
Do you agree with this or no? Do you think this is good?
We're going to pay for it later.
Myron gives a lot of good arguments here, and we totally lost our moral high ground with telling Russia and China, hey, you can't bully Ukraine, you can't bully Taiwan, but that's exactly what we're doing to Venezuela now. However, the economic consequences of Saudi Arabia not honoring the deal where they said they're going to do all their deals in US dollars, which was the deal from the 1970s, were too severe to ignore, and we had to do something. If the dollar loses its status as the reserve currency, we are cooked. But also, why would we allow forces hostile to our interests to gain a foothold in our own Western Hemisphere, actively collaborating with our global enemies? Venezuela was actively positioning itself to embrace the BRICS currency system, spearheaded by China's yuan. This move would effectively make Venezuela a BRICS nation, directly challenging our hegemonic position as the reserve currency provider in our own backyard and significantly undermining the dollar. I like how Sneako is just sitting there listening to the lecture, taking notes, and after all of that, the only thing he cares about is if Myron is on his side or the other, if he is supporting it or condemning it, because that's the only thing he cares about. When Myron is on the other side, Sneako can start spitting his prepared talking points. Myron clearly knows what he is talking about, even if you disagree with him. I would like to see a debate between Nick Fuentes and Myron Gaines on this topic where they can deeply engage in a discussion about the benefits and the disadvantages of this situation. Let me know if you agree with Myron in the comments, or just tell me that my AI voice is unbearable to hear like that fucker from the last video. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to just post clips, I will never have a chance to make money without some commentary.
Why are you not against it? It sounds like
we're gonna pay for it later.
Pay for it how and when?
So this is how we're gonna pay for it. Basically, right? We tell all these other countries, hey, you can't violate people's sovereignty. We wagged our finger at Putin, telling him, you can't invade Ukraine, you can't do X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. Well, we went ahead and did that. And back in 2007, Putin delivered a speech talking about a multipolar world, right? That it's inevitable and it's coming. And that's where we are now. And the United States invading Venezuela, though in the short term, we're going to have access to some resources, the stock market might do better, blah, blah, blah. This is going to hurt us in the long run because now the international community understands that if you challenge the US dollar, right, you're putting a target on your back. So countries that were on the fence about going into BRICS or countries that were thinking about going to BRICS, they're absolutely going to deal with BRICS more because they don't want to be under the US dollar system that the United States has. And we've pushed a lot of people away that might have wanted to work with us because we've just demonstrated here, if you don't work with us, we're going to invade you and take your resources anyway. So let's say the people in BRICS, right, they're moving at 20 miles per hour. We've doubled the speed. Now they're going to move at 40 to 50 miles per hour. We've basically accelerated the very the opposition to our dollar. And now they have, and most importantly, here's the big one. Now they're justified in pushing out BRICS. We've basically vindicated Putin and Xi Jinping when they make their speeches and call us hypocrites and say, you need to get off the US dollar system because this is what they do. And we proved them right with invading Venezuela. So long term, we are going to pay for this.
Wait, who do we prove right by invading Venezuela?
Our adversaries, Putin and Ping especially.
Okay.
Because they warned about this. They warned that being under the US dollar, you think you're safe, but you're really not. And we just demonstrated how not working with us will lead to you being toppled, dethroned, etc.
Okay, so what's their standard? If we're using the petrodollar, what are the Chinese and
They use BRICS.
Okay, but how do you explain what is BRICS based on?
It's basically them bringing all their currencies together to challenge the reserve currency status of the United States.
Okay. So
they basically what they want is they don't want the US dollar to be the premier currency. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that is where our power comes from. That's what the important thing people need to know is that our reserve currency status is why we are so prosperous and so powerful and why we can keep printing money and we don't deal with consequences for it.
It sounds like you're, if you want to hear my analysis, it sounds like you're against this completely, but there's also so many people watching your stream that are very happy about the invasion, so you don't want to divide. But if you're saying we're gonna pay this,
I don't like it. I told you, I just told you last year.
So you're against what happened.
Yeah, I think long term this is going to hurt us. Short term, it's going to benefit us, but I think long term this will absolutely hurt us in the international community. Yeah.
Nick Fuentes versus Myron Gaines debate on these very issues becomes even more compelling. Myron's analysis, informed by his HSI background, highlights how the imminent threat to the US dollar's reserve currency status has pushed us into a strategic blunder, forcing us to demonstrate strength. Dying empires like the Romans in their final stages often resorted to initiating wars with significantly smaller and weaker nations. If America was the top dog, some puppy like Venezuela wouldn't dare to go behind our back when they are in our hemisphere. Should America have gone after Maduro, or did we just accelerate the collapse of the US dollar by proving we will invade anyone who challenges us? Well, at least now that Venezuela has been liberated, we can send every single Venezuelan refugee back home. They really have no reason to be in America anymore, especially the asylum seekers who have stated their reasoning for fleeing Venezuela being the Maduro government.